Hello, and welcome to Being Becca Not Live. I tried my darndest today, you guys, but it just didn't happen. Um, as you know, I am on the road in the RV, and so we are in a RV park in Colorado, and this high in the mountains and this in the middle of nowhere, you don't get great signal. And so, as try as I might to get on with you guys live, I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. I just couldn't make it happen. So um, I'm sorry about that. Instead, I bring you a recording of what I was going to talk about because I am fired up about this topic and I can't wait to talk about it. But before I do, if you don't know why I'm in my RV and you don't know why I'm recording this and have low bandwidth, then you need to head over to my other playlist, which is Autistically Yours on the road to leveling up, which is what the journey I'm on right now to move my family cross country for our next quality of life, for our next level up in quality of life. And so that's what I'm on a mission to do right now. So if you haven't caught that, you've only missed 4 episodes. So you can go ahead out there and catch up binge real fast on the first 4 and be in time to watch the new one this Sunday. Anyway, I thank you though to those of you who are watching and those of you who did subscribe to the channel because it's really fun sharing this sometimes uncomfortable but also really exciting journey with you guys. And I'm glad to be able to sort of open my back doors and sort of be like, hey, come on in, let me show you what is really going on and what it looks like when you truly live a self-defined quality of life, and you're making choices that are all in alignment with that goal, right? Anyway, we're here in Being Becca Not Live because this is where I talk about the challenges of being an autistic adult alive right now and not when research catches up, right? And last week, if you watched live stream, I had myself a little truth telling session. I had myself a little just vent it out back and let it go. Because I've had a lot of struggles right now in terms of my professional career and being understood out in the world in my professional career, right? And seeing autistics and wanting autistics to move up in their professional careers as well, right? And so what a lot of what I do and a lot of what I've always done has been this disability consulting, right? Inclusion consulting, neurodiversity consulting. And now this fancy thing that I've been doing for the last whatever years, to almost 10 years, is now has a name. And now it's called DEIB, for disability equity, inclusion, and belonging. And so that is now a category out in the world of careers, much like someone who's a social media manager, which didn't exist a few years ago, is now out there doing that career, right? So that is sort of what I do. And last week, I just had to vent out about how misunderstood the concept of DEIB is out there in corporate America, right? Out there in, business land, right? And so if you missed that, here's a link or whatever, or a link or a link, a link, to go watch the whole thing because I said some things and I was really, brutally honest about it because I'm tired. I'm tired of not being honest about it. I'm tired of trying to play the neurotypical work game. I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't. And so I want to tell some truths. And I've been thinking a lot about other truths in relation to employment that I really want to talk about. And this is a big one for me, the one I'm going to talk about today, and that is disability in the C-suite. What? Yes, this is what I wish I had continued to talk about last week, but in fact, it worked out better because this deserves its own stream. This deserves its own recording, right? So let's talk about it because there are parts of this whole C-suite concept that don't work for autistics and neurodivergents, and there are parts of the C-suite that, folks that are neurodivergent, it works for. I happen to be somebody who really thrives in a C-suite management job. I happen to be someone whose skill sets align with being a really good supervisor, right? And my brain categorizes and organizes things. And now I've been at this job that I've been working in nonprofit management now for, again, almost 10 years, right? Doing the same thing, right? Doing nonprofit management. And, I'm going to be honest, I cannot get into the C-suite in these categories. And that should be untrue. And I'm not sure what it is about getting in. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Not everyone might be familiar with the term C suite. So since I'm recording it, I'm going to take advantage of Isabel and say, hey, Isabel, could you do me a favor? But she actually can't because I'm going to throw this up myself. So maybe later on I'll put it in the bottom or I'll put some definition. But C suite essentially means the C jobs like CEO, CFO, COO, right? Our chief financial officers, chief operating officers, our chief executive officers, right? And that's sort of the category of what we call management out in like hiring platforms and things like that. It's called the C suite. So, I want to talk about that because we don't have, and this is reality, we don't have any more than maybe a small handful of openly neurodivergent people who are also sitting in a C suite position. And I want to qualify that by saying not a C-suite position in a business that they built themselves, right? So they're not the founder CEO, right? We don't have anybody who got hired based on their merits and skills and being open neurodivergent, right? Sitting in those C-suites. We just don't. And we have to ask ourselves why. I think it's twofold, and here's my truth. First fold is, right, we are overall overarching, we've been umbrellaed as I am having the struggles. Disabled employees have been umbrellaed under the category of difficult, right? We're the difficult employees. So it's been our history that if an employer can find someone who is of the not difficult category, aka not disabled, doesn't have special needs, doesn't need accommodations, doesn't need this, doesn't need that, right? And doesn't have the potential to be difficult. They look for that person and they hire that person. And at the same time, when you're applying for jobs, they're asking you these voluntary questions at the end about your race, about your gender, about your veteran status, and of course, about your disability status. Right? And I have to be honest on my applications and say I have a disability status. Why? Because if I get there and I need accommodations, I need to be able to ask for them. At the same time, disclosure is not safe in our current corporate environment, right? In our current employment environment. And so if I disclose, it's a double-edged sword. I need to disclose so I can get my accommodations, but if I disclose, I'm automatically like taking myself out of 50% of the jobs that I'm applying for, right? And then there's this whole other level of where neurodivergence are completely misunderstood in the workplace, right? Where people don't understand our communication skills, where people don't understand our perspective or the way that our logical brains work. They don't understand that we are direct to be clear, not to be rude, right? And all of these other things. And that stuff makes it really unsafe to for us to openly engage as disabled folks. So if we are human beings who happen to be disabled or neurodivergent, right, invisibly disabled, and we have the luxury of being able to quote unquote, because it's not a luxury, mask, right, we can go into jobs and not declare quite so loudly our disabled status. But what does that do for us? What does it do for our community, right? So I know personally more than a handful, easily like double handfuls of professionals right now out there in management and power positions where they are in the C-suite who do not feel safe to disclose. And because they don't feel safe to disclose, it continues the cycle of not having openly neurodivergent people in the C-suite. And so we continue to not get hired for these positions. So I'm putting this out there because this ticks me off. I deserve, and I don't do this often, but I deserve a C-suite position. I've been at this job for 10 years. I deserve a regular salary. I deserve health insurance. I deserve a lot more, being paid a lot more than what I do right now for the information that's up here in ye old noggin after 10 years of doing DEIV and 10 years of doing nonprofit management, right? But I'll never get there in this environment. I've been applying for C-suite jobs and C-suite jobs only for the last year and a half. Nothing. Okay? And I don't know where that comes from. And I have to assume that a piece of it is my disability. A piece of it is that the minute they look at my LinkedIn profile and my resume, they see that I'm disabled, that I'm openly autistic, and then I am that difficult one. I'm the difficult employee. I have the potential for that, right? Because so much of autistic mannerisms and autistic culture gets so misunderstood in the workplace, right? That I am assumed dangerous before they even give me a chance, right? And that's green hair, tattoos aside, okay? That's without anybody seeing anything but my lovely profile picture on LinkedIn, okay? And so that's the reality, and that has to fucking change. That's gotta change, right? And so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna shout it really loudly. If you are hiring right now, and you are hiring for a C-suite position, and you consider yourself to be a DEIB friendly, right, inclusive employer, it's in your little job posting at the bottom. You talk about how inclusive and forward thinking you are. And then I apply, and you're not considering people who are part of the categories in which you are trying to be inclusive. You're lying. You're lying in your job postings. Okay? You should be looking for me. And all the me's out there that know what it's like to live in one of the groups, as one of the groups that require inclusivity and belonging and do not receive it, to be in charge of your stuff like that. Oh my God. And if you are a disability forward facing organization, a disability nonprofit, an autism nonprofit, neurodiversity nonprofit, I double dare you to hire a neurodivergent or disabled person to be your CEO, your CFO, your COO, someone that is willing to stand proudly and say, yes, I'm disabled and I can still do this job. And I bet I can do it better than half of the people you're looking at. That's what I say. So I dare you, hire me. Hire me and all the me's like me. We'll show you how we can organize your chaos. I promise. I promise. And with that, I get off of my soapbox and I say, thank you for taking some time to listen to me today. Thank you for taking the spoons. Thank you for going with me on this crazy journey in an RV with all of my crazy animals. And thank you, of course, for sharing and liking and commenting and engaging with me out there in social media and wherever you're seeing this video, because that's how I get my message out there. And darned it if I'm going to go into retirement and to my grave without seeing openly neurodivergent people sitting in C-suite power positions in companies in which they have not had to start themselves. All right, you guys, that's it for me today. I hope you get out there and seek joy, create joy, share joy, all the joys. I will see you out and about on the interwebs, of course. And I truly, truly, fingers crossed, hope to be in a better situation next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time when I come to you live that time. Again, apologies for the confusion this week. I can't wait to catch up with you next time. Bye.